Most updates to FC26 arrive quietly. They slip into the game without ceremony, rarely altering anything you can see, and instead adjust the hidden layers that hold everything together. And at first glance, this one seemed no different. The menus were unchanged, the pitch notes looked familiar, and nothing obvious suggested that the experience on the pitch would feel any different at all. But the moment players stepped into their first match, a subtle shift revealed itself. Not as a dramatic change, and not as something disruptive, rather as a quiet difference in the way the game moved. Touches carried a softness that hadn't been there before. Turns eased into place instead of snapping with their usual certainty. Runs that once broke into space with a sense of urgency now rolled forward with a more controlled, almost measured pace. It wasn't slower in speed, but it was slower in character. The sharp edges of the game, the moments that give sports games their immediacy, felt as though they'd been softened overnight. This sensation, the one so many players recognised instantly, comes from a part of the engine that rarely steps into view. A system designed to make movement look natural, to hide the seams between animations, and to ensure the game flows as one continuous motion. A system that almost never draws attention unless something around it changes. It's called smoothing. Smoothing exists to give the game its fluidity, to make each action blend into the next in a way that feels believable. Every step, turn, and challenge is constructed from small fragments of animation, stitched together with subtle transitions so you never notice where one ends and another begins. Most of the time, smoothing is completely invisible. It works beneath the surface, shaping the experience without ever becoming the experience. But smoothing has a delicate balance. If the world around it shifts, if animations become cleaner, if movement becomes more structured, if defensive timing or frame pacing change even slightly, smoothing moves from the background into the foreground. And suddenly, a system designed to be unnoticed becomes something players can feel. That is what happened after the latest update. Nothing in the patch notes hinted at a dramatic shift, yet small refinements across the animation system had a cumulative effect. Transitions between movements became cleaner. Some of the abrupt frames that once gave actions their bite were replaced by smoother blends. Defensive engagements became a little more controlled, changing the timing of when pressure arrives. Attacking runs found a more consistent shape, reducing the unpredictability that often adds flair and sharpness to the rhythm of a match. Individually, each of these adjustments is subtle. Together, they create an environment where smoothing becomes more visible, not because the game has changed its speed, but because the moments that used to mask smoothing have softened. Players feel this in ways that are immediate and instinctive. When you've played hundreds of matches, your brain learns the rhythm long before you consciously think about it. You know the timing of a turn, the firmness of a pass, the speed at which a defender steps into a challenge. And when those cues soften, your instinct responds before your understanding does. You press the stick with the same timing you always have, and the game registers it instantly. But what you see is different. A motion that begins with a gentle blend instead of a sharp pivot. A change of direction that looks more rounded than it feels in your hands. It's not delay, it's not sluggish code. It's smoothing revealing itself because the rest of the game has become more polished around it. This is why the update feels like a change in pace, even though the underlying speed is untouched. The snappiness that creates the illusion of speed, those tiny sharp moments that define the rhythm of football, has simply become less prominent. And without those cues, the game's natural softness becomes more visible. On PC, performance adds another layer to the experience. Small fluctuations in frame delivery make transitions appear heavier, not because the inputs are slower, but because the visuals no longer match the instinctive timing players have built. even slight differences in pacing can amplify the effect of smoothing, making it feel more present than before. What players are feeling then isn't the game slowing down. It's the quiet rebalancing of motion, a shift in how animations connect, how pressure arrives, and how the game presents movement on screen. Smoothing hasn't increased, its visibility has. The sharper edges that once hid it have softened, allowing a familiar part of the engine to step briefly into the light. The responsiveness is still there. The inputs still fire instantly. The gameplay systems still behave as they did before the patch. But the rhythm, the flow, the transitions, the moments where football gains its urgency has changed tone. Smoothing is the silent architecture of FC26's movement, always present, always shaping the experience. And for the first time in a long time, it's no longer invisible. Not because something went wrong, but because the quiet refinements of an ordinary update shifted the balance that kept smoothing out of sight. The game didn't slow down, but the edges that made it feel fast have softened. And when that happens, you feel the engine in a way you rarely do. Calm, subtle, and unmistakably different. Thanks for watching.